Still waiting for that perfect golden chance? Wake up! Years have already been wasted chasing comfort zones and daily dollars. AI's not waiting for anyone. It's sprinting ahead of us, faster, smarter, and sharper. In 10 years, it'll eat our jobs, our businesses, and definitely our excuses. Transformation, disruption, domination. Education re-engineered, property tokenized, communities reinvented. This is the decade of survival, and the One Real Tech is building the blueprint. Want growth? Get in! This is the decade where the average doer vanishes, but the bold ones, they build empires. No dependency, no pity party, no constraints, just freedom to create, to own, to flex, and to live louder than ever. This isn't some sci-fi film. This is now. The new reality, human with machine, vision with ownership. If we are not part of it, we are history. The next 10 years belong to the crazy ones, the doers. Stay in comfort and stay stuck, or get up and own the future. The choice is ours.
Good morning, good morning, good morning from Southwest Florida. As the video said, it's the bold ones, the crazy ones, the doers who are not staying in their comfort zone. They're stepping up to claim the future. And that's exactly what Holistic True Wealth is all about, claiming the future. Hi, I'm Dr. Jeffrey E. Berger, and that's an honorary doctorate for advocate on mental and financial well-being and leadership in life transformation I humbly received in September of 2024. Welcome to season 26 of Holistic True Wealth. And before I get started, remember to please like, subscribe, and share, allowing us to get in front of more people to share our messages. Also, don't forget to enter your questions and share your comments with us. We'd love to hear from you, so thank you on that. I'm truly excited to be here with you today this season. I've brought together an incredible lineup of guests and individuals who are really not just talking about the change, they're actually living it, sharing insights that can genuinely shift the direction of your life. At my core, I believe every single one of us deserves to live a life of true abundance, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. And as a certified holistic coach, I take a finance-first approach to overall well-being, because whether we like it or not, financial stress impacts every other area of our lives. When we address that foundation, everything else begins to fall into place and elevate. We're living in a time of massive transformation, a complete shift in how we think, earn, live, and build our future. And if you're really not feeling that, if you're really feeling that, you are not alone. But this isn't something to fear. It's something to step into. And this podcast is about more than ideas. It's about real solutions, paths that are working right now to help you go from just surviving to fully thriving. Because true wealth isn't just about money. It's about having the freedom, the tools, and the mindset to create the lifestyle that you want to live. So before I bring up my very, very special guest today, we're going to take another quick, short commercial break. Be right back.
What if property wasn't just bricks and walls, but pixels and blockchain too? One Real Tech takes real estate digital and puts ownership right in your hands. Fractional ownership, real assets, blockchain trust. The future of property is here. And where does it all start? It starts with One Real Tech, where you will learn how blockchain and real estate come together. One ecosystem, endless opportunities. Are you ready to step inside? From Harare to Abu Dhabi and across the world, One Real Tech is connecting ideas, assets, and innovation, turning vision into value, dreams into ownership. One Real Tech. Own it, live it, trade it.
Okay, we are back, and my next guest doesn't do funnels, doesn't do hype or fake urgency. And he'll be the first to tell you that probably terrible marketing. So, with that, what does he care about in helping people suffer less? Marc works with good men and women whose lives look great from the outside, but who feel disconnected from their partner, worn down by pressure, or frustrated that they keep reacting in ways they wish they wouldn't. Please help me welcome the founder of Marc Wendt Coaching, Mr. Marc Wendt, to the Holistic True Wealth Show. Welcome, Marc.
Hi, Jeffrey. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule, as I know you got a lot of things going on. So before we get started, I would love to have you share with our audience a little bit about who Marc is outside of your business.
I've been living in California since I was a wee boy. I was raised at the time in our culture where massive change was going on. So I've been birthed and raised in a kind of volatility. We reshaped societies in the late 60s and 70s and brought on new paradigms in health and ways of looking at things. And I'm from the part of the country in the US where innovation has been the hallmark of how things have been going. And so I've been adaptable, changeable, and looking to break out of my comfort zone at every opportunity. That's led me through lots of adventures, a 21-year career in the film business, actually appearing as a Jedi in a Star Wars film, and leading some really interesting initiations for men now.
Well, that's awesome. And I didn't even know you had the film background that you do. And you're north of Silicon Valley, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, just north of San Francisco in an area called Marin County.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Well, thanks for sharing that. I learned a couple of little nuggets that I didn't know before.
We're just getting started.
There you go. Absolutely. So you said that you care more about helping people suffer less than having life figured out. So what moment in your own life made you trust truth over strategy?
Well, there's been a lot, but when I was thinking about this question, I thought about the primary one, which was when I was young, my parents were clearly breaking up. And I was doing everything I could to be the good little boy who would prevent that disruption of my family. Well, it turns out it didn't work because it had nothing to do with me. And the truth was there were things I couldn't control. And so I had to learn time and time again how to break out of my fear-based performative behaviors and be the authentic version of myself so that I could stay steady and calm and move forward in my life.
Wow, that's great. And sorry to hear about your parents. And so many kids go through different stages and experiences with their parents thinking that they're the blame and they want to do everything that they can, but it's really, as you say, it's out of your power because it has nothing really to do with you. So next we have, a lot of our listeners look successful on paper, but feel quietly disconnected from their partners. So with that, what's usually happening underneath that disconnection?
Yeah, well, it's almost never a love problem. It's really that people are carrying so much pressure all day long, and they tend to put up masks. They put on a kind of performative persona, thinking that will save them. But in the end, what ends up happening is that avatar that they create, that personage, is one step different from their authentic self. And as a result of that distinction, that difference, people begin to lose trust in them. And then they begin to struggle harder to maintain their position. And so it becomes a vicious cycle of self-abandoning their authentic truth, who they really are. And that then breaks down trust, which breaks down the functions in their work relationships, and then ultimately in their romantic and partnerships at home.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I definitely can relate to that because I was always one of the belief that uh, I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So I stepped into this so-called, as you mentioned, different avatar, because I didn't want to cause disruption. I didn't want to hurt anybody, and I wanted to please everybody. But I finally woke up and realized I can't please everybody. So I started to, in 2018, was able to come back into more of my authentic self, and had come to really realize, doing a lot of meditation and understanding about who I am and what I'm all about, is that it's okay to be who we are, be our authentic self, because there are going to be people who don't like you, who don't resonate with you, and that's okay. And for me personally, I grew up in the baby boomer generation, being taught to be in a little box and be a good little boy and not disrupt anything. So yeah, so thank you. So when you work with people, where were you when I was like 20 and between 20 and 30? When you work with people who react in ways that they wish they wouldn't, what's the first shift that really helps someone catch themselves before they before this reaction really takes over them?
Yeah, the first distinction is that it starts in the body. It's not in our head, right? It's not a mental solution. And that we have about 30 to 90 seconds between when the body signals us and we start speaking. And the practice is to learn to have built a kind of resilience, so that when you hit these moments where stress is elevated and you're going to react instead of respond, is you have built into your nervous system the kind of things that come from adequate breathing, slowing down, and language patterns that have you break free of this thread that we've been talking about of inauthenticity. And you learn how to show up courageously and outside of your fears, embodying your best self, embodying the gifts that you've been given, the talents. And when you do that, people start to open up and the relationships start to shift.
So
it's the 3-second rule. You stop, take a deep breath, notice what's occurring for you, and then move from there. And it's more than that. It's part of what I teach, is how to develop the resilience I mentioned, how to build the skill set that becomes habit instead of having to think about, well, how do I respond properly in this situation?
That is, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're saying that, because that is exactly what I do, because I always reacted. And what I do is when I get stressed, and I'll have to look at when you say it's really in the body, because sometimes it's in the head for me. When I hit it, I used to react, and sometimes pretty violently, to stress-related situations. Today, since 2018, 2019, I've recognized that trigger, and I take a step back and I evaluate and look at, okay, I'm stressed. Why am I being stressed? Why is this happening to me? What am I supposed to learn from it? And what am I supposed to take away and maybe share with other people down the road when I was doing my holistic health coaching? So it's interesting that there's that similarity there. And it's so important because stress is it's the number one killer for all types of diseases that are out there today, because it just impacts the body temple. So
you mentioned
we're going
the
to
word trigger.
Yes.
And what's important to recognize is that's part of the autonomic nervous system, the vagus nerve system.
The vagus
which
nerve,
is not
right.
happening in the conscious mind at all. That's why we call it a trigger. It's happening in our nervous system. And the vagus nerve goes from the back of the head through the body all the way down to the digestive tract. So one of the things you learn is vagus tone. And vagal tone is just like having toned muscles, but it's in about your nervous system. right? And we've all heard the
Yeah.
stories from when people are sent, like, you got to go move to Arizona and be calm because there's too much stress here for you, or whatever the things are. Or so it's really about increasing vagal tone, which is the signal in the body that your mind then uses to panic from.
Absolutely. And it's all about the microbiome, the gut, brain, heart axis health, and learned about the vagus nerve when I became certified, and it being such an integral part to really making those communications between all of our bodily functions and systems, if you will. So I love hearing this from somebody else. So that's great. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with Marc. Okay, we are back, and I'll drop a couple of nuggets at the end of the show about that piece of property that you just saw on the commercial. So, Marc, what does steadier and more present actually look like day to day, not as a concept, but really as a practice?
Thank you for that question. What it looks like, just like the way your clothes fit if you work out, it's a neurological workout. It's a way of harmonizing mind, body, and soul. And the West has discovered things like yoga and qigong and meditation, and there's a kind of abstraction about why. But when you start to tie that into what we just spoke about with the vagus nerve, you start to understand that when you do something consistently, you can build up this resilience and turn reactions into responses. So 60 seconds before any high stakes meeting, you're grounding your feet on the floor, you're breathing into your belly, you're breathing through your nose, and you're recognizing the information that's occurring for you in the emotional body. This is what we mean by emotional intelligence. It's about knowing yourself first, which ties back to that authenticity piece. Because if you're starting from that, then there's this opportunity to show up authentically grounded and lead from a place of cool, calm, and collectedness. And that practice is the result of what you do day in, day out. Like starting in the morning is really what I recommend. Have a morning practice. Today I did qigong and meditation and some cold therapy before I came, right? That regulates my nervous system. And then during the day, I maintain little micro meditations where the breath practice really calms the vagus nerve. In fact, the vagus nerve is reset through breath. That's the way you change it. So what do we say when someone gets really angry? We say, take a deep breath or go for a walk, right? So when you understand the mechanics of how to be more resilient and be more responsive, you're opening the gateway to becoming the highest level of performer you are from a place of calm and steady.
Awesome. I love that. I do have a quick question for the audience. When you talk about cold therapy, give an example of that.
For me, I have a pool, but it's not heated.
Okay.
Now, other folks are using cryo chambers or ice pads, or if you really want to make the investment, there's these little tubs that have cold water circulating through them. And there's this idea that 35 to 42 degrees really changes the way your metabolism is run. And there's been a lot of scientific studies, and we all know, I don't know, most people know about this guy, Wim Hof. The thing about Wim is that people know him for the ice depths, but it's the
Right.
breathing exercises, the breath work that resets the way our nervous system is running. That's really the deeper piece. And he uses that to prepare for managing the high stress of environment of getting into an ice bath. Like if you've ever thought about it, fill your tub with like
Oh.
4 gallons of ice.
Yeah.
And the thing that's going to stop you is not your body. Your body will survive. It's your mind.
Mind. Yeah.
You're not going to make it.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm living down in Florida. I left the Northeast from the cold and all that stuff, and down in Florida. So it definitely, there's definitely that change. And I recognize that over the years being away from the cold. So what do you see good, capable men and women, sabotaging their own relationships without actually realizing it?
Yeah, thank you for that. It comes down to over functioning, over delivering. These people are the people that everyone counts on, and they're often giving past their limits. And then resentment compounds because they start to believe everyone should be giving at the level they're giving. And then they become depleted. Their own self-reserves become depleted. And as a result, you undermine your own relationship with resentment and passive aggressive behavior, indirect requests. Like we make these covert agreements with each other. And by covert, I mean no one knows. You make it up in your head and you expect your partner to be the one that meets that. And I'll tell you, expectations are the roadmap to disconnection and disaster. So when you make your internalized agreements overt by having a practice of meeting regularly to discuss emotional issues, to discuss financial structures, planning, and by regularly, like once a week, like sit down, half an hour and say, how are you feeling? Each partner gets a chance to speak. And then you make agreements. You say, well, my request is, and that can be yes or no, like you have to be free to say yes. And I go into this a lot deeper in my practice and in my cohorts that I work with, in how to be someone who optimizes their output while maintaining that reservoir so that you can have longevity for life, one, and two, being able to have sustainable effort over the course of transitions and changes. And we head into more and more challenging times with this shift in technology. It's that capacity for longevity and putting out the high level of effort day in, day out.
Yes.
And when you over deliver and you're stressing your system out and you're operating from expectations, you're undermining the relationships in your romantic life at home, and you're also undermining your relationships on your team. And people are emulating that. And so everyone ends up depleting themselves instead of regenerating with each other and having overt agreements how to support and reconfigure the systems in order to be the most advantageous for the organization.
I totally relate with that, especially from a work perspective, and working in corporate America and having gone through 2 burnouts. You try to over deliver and please the management, so forth and so on, and their boundaries were not set. So very, very good point. Luckily, I haven't had that in my relationship. So we have very much open communication, and I'm in my 20th year, or we're in our 20th year together as a couple. So that says a lot. So communication is critical. So what's one belief about having it together that you had to unlearn to become a coach and a person you are today?
I think it was the belief that not needing anyone in my life. Like I was an island and I could do it all on my own.
Yeah.
I was conditioned, and most high performers are, to operate in this kind of silo, right?
Yep.
And we forget how powerful we are. It's force multipliers are actually a result of teams, not just individual.
Exactly.
So the belief of having it together and that I had to do it all myself was what I dismantled. And what I found was that my output and my capacity actually expanded when I stopped pigeonholing myself. And I learned where my rest cycle needed to begin, my recovery cycle. Like if you see pro athletes, they're just as attentive about what they do after they perform,
Right.
as they are during the performance. And you don't have to wait until there's a major breach before you reach out for support. In fact, that's one of the things I notice in my client base is most people are like reaching out to me right at the point where things are going to be broken. If they just reached out a year or 6 months before that, the impact of working with me could be so much greater because they're not operating from repair, they're operating from maintenance and actually upgrading.
Yeah.
And more as we go into this more challenging time where machines are driving the pace, we're going to have to become better at being able to maintain our ability to stay strong and keep producing, but not be isolated and clenched up in doing it. We have to be together.
Perfect. I mean, I love that. And you've really dropped a ton of nuggets today. And for those that are on or watching the replay, look at the, there we go. I'm shifting around here. Down in the scrolling banner, that's how you can get in touch with Marc on LinkedIn. And he does have a website, but reach out to him on LinkedIn first and check out his profile, then go to his website. He's got a lot of great information there. And, I know when I was growing up, there was not a lot of this coaching. It was, be strong and be a man and, don't cry, all that kind of stuff. But you know what? Real men do cry. And real men do have feelings. And now it's people like you who are bringing that out and having, conversations with individuals to really bring that to the forefront. And it's okay. And we can get.
I'd like to say something about that, if I can interrupt you, which is that stoicism and masculine strength are important things to cultivate.
Yes.
We need to be able to compartmentalize that in certain instances in order to perform through high stress situations. But when you lock yourself there, then you become locked up and you don't have access to these other elements and the same is true in reverse. If you're in your feelings all the time and everything's a trauma, you also fall into an area where you become less functional. And so it's this idea of resilience, of bandwidth, of the dynamic human capacity. And going faster sometimes means slowing down in the right way.
Awesome. I love that. Resilience. It's a balance of resilience, different types of resiliences. So that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Marc, for coming on today. I appreciate what you have shared and look forward to learning more about what you're doing. On the screen is my upcoming, this will be my first solo author of writing a book. I've been a contributing writer for a number of years, bestseller, author, international speaker. And this is my first solo book. It's launching next month. And if you want to get onto the pre-launch list, the Money Shift is really, it's a guide for parents between 30 and 45 who realize that we're in a paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift is pretty much everything from medicine, from finances, from business, and things are changing within this whole technological industry. And this is really a book geared towards parents to sit down with their children, because in 10 to 20 years, their children will be living in a completely different world than what we are living in today. And that really, helps parents sit down. There's going to be a workbook. There's going to be daily assignments from each chapter. So I'm really excited about it. So if you're interested, scan that QR code and get on to the pre-launch, which is the launches. I'm scheduling it for August 22nd if everything works out. Lastly, that video about the property, I am in the blockchain technology areas with real estate tech, financial tech, educational tech, AI, the metaverse. So if you're interested in getting more information about that property, scan this QR code and you'll be taken to a registration page and a 20-minute introduction video about what that is all about. Because real estate is changing. Fractional ownership is here. So this is something that is really, really new for many people because they've never heard about it. So this gives you an idea about some of the projects that I'm involved with. Again, Mark, thank you so much for coming on today. And we will see you on the inside in 2 weeks.